On June 28, 1914, in the city of Sarajevo, the course of history was irrevocably changed. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie would set off a chain reaction, igniting a global conflict that would claim millions of lives and reshape the world. But how did a single assassination lead to one of the most devastating wars in history? To understand the impact of that fateful day, we must first delve into the complex web of alliances, rivalries, and nationalistic movements that had been building up across Europe for decades. At the dawn of the 20th century, Europe was a continent divided by complex alliances and political tensions. The great powers Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, France, and Britain were locked in a fragile balance of power. The formation of two major alliances, the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance, created a tense political climate where even a small conflict could escalate into something much larger. Austria-Hungary, a vast multi-ethnic empire in Central Europe, was in a precarious position. It faced rising nationalist movements within its borders, particularly among Slavic peoples in the Balkans, who sought independence or greater autonomy. Serbia, a Slavic nation with close ties to Russia, was leading the charge for the creation of a Greater Serbia. This goal was seen as a direct threat to Austria-Hungary's dominance in the region. Behind the assassination of Franz Ferdinand was a group of young Bosnian Serbs, members of a secret nationalist group called the Black Hand. The Black Hand, founded by Colonel Dragutin Dimitrievich, was committed to the idea of a Greater Serbia and aimed to rid the Balkans of Austrian influence. They believed that the assassination of Franz Ferdinand would serve as a spark to ignite a rebellion against the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The conspirators had planned for months. They were young men, mostly in their late teens or early 20s, drawn from poor working-class backgrounds. Among them was Gavrilo Princip, the man who would ultimately carry out the assassination. Princip, driven by a belief in Serbian nationalism, saw Franz Ferdinand's visit to Sarajevo as the perfect opportunity to strike. The young men had little idea of the catastrophic consequences their actions would unleash. On June 28, Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie were in Sarajevo as part of an official visit. The day had been meticulously planned, but an early assassination attempt had failed. A grenade, thrown by one of the conspirators, missed the Archduke's car and exploded under another vehicle in the convoy, injuring several officers. Despite the failed attempt, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie decided to proceed with their planned route. Unfortunately, fate played its part. The driver, unaware of a last-minute change in plans, took a wrong turn, driving the car directly into the hands of Gavrilo Princip, who had been waiting near the street corner. In that moment, Princip seized the opportunity, pulling out his pistol and firing 2 shots. The shock was immediate. Sarajevo and the world were stunned. A single act of violence had now set the world on a path toward war. In the wake of the assassination, Europe reacted with a mixture of shock, anger, and suspicion. Austria-Hungary, with the backing of its ally Germany, blamed Serbia for the attack. Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia, demanding that it suppress anti-Austrian groups and allow Austro-Hungarian officials to participate in the investigation of the assassination. Serbia, however, refused to meet all the terms of the ultimatum, and this refusal would lead to Austria-Hungary declaring war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. What followed was the rapid mobilization of military alliances across Europe, which triggered the First World War. The assassination was not the only event of consequence. The system of alliances that had been carefully constructed by the great powers meant that what started as a localized conflict soon spiraled into a world war. Russia, an ally of Serbia, mobilized its army in defense of Serbia. This prompted Germany to declare war on Russia on August 1, 1914. France, bound by its alliance with Russia, was now drawn into the conflict. Germany, hoping to avoid a two-front war, invaded Belgium in order to quickly strike at France. The United Kingdom, which had a treaty with Belgium, declared war on Germany on August 4. Within days, the major powers of Europe were at war with one another, and the world was plunged into the chaos of World War I. The First World War, which had started as a regional conflict in the Balkans, quickly engulfed all of Europe and beyond. The war was unlike any seen before. Trench warfare on the Western Front led to a bloody stalemate, while new technologies, like tanks, airplanes, and poison gas, were introduced. The horrors of war would take a devastating toll on both soldiers and civilians alike. Over the next 4 years, millions would die and entire empires would collapse. The war, fought primarily in Europe, would redraw borders, bring down monarchies, and set the stage for the second global conflict, World War II. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie may have seemed like a local tragedy at the time, but its consequences were far-reaching. The war it ignited reshaped the world in profound ways. The Austro-Hungarian, Russian, Ottoman, and German empires all collapsed, and new nations emerged from the ashes. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war, but its harsh terms would sow the seeds of resentment in Germany. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand is a reminder of how small, seemingly isolated events can have monumental impacts. It demonstrates how fragile peace can be and how quickly tensions can escalate into something far greater. As we reflect on the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, we must remember that history is shaped by both large events and the individual choices of those who live through them. The assassination itself was the catalyst, but the deeper causes of the war lay in centuries of political intrigue, nationalism, and imperial ambitions. The death of Franz Ferdinand, although a tragic loss of life, was not the sole cause of World War I. It was, however, the spark that lit the powder keg of European tensions. The war that followed would change the world forever, and its reverberations would be felt for decades to come.